Hey folks, I'm Jim Hanson, your East Coast warlord.
And I'm Kurt Schlichter, your West Coast warlord, and this is the latest edition of the Warlords, and we're going to get right into it with self-defense.
And there's a lot of legal issues to this, but let me lay the groundwork before we pick your massive attorney brain. There have been a couple shootings recently that have brought this to mind. First of all, we had Daniel Perry defending himself against an Antifa rioter and then convicted of murder. And we had Ralph Yarl, who was a young 16-year-old black kid in Kansas City who was shot on the porch by an 85-year-old guy, apparently through his screen door. And a third potential evidence of this was a group of teens and a young girl, I think she was 20, who drove up into the driveway in a rural area, and the homeowner there shot at the car and ended up killing her. All three of these have some element of self-defense. But Kurt, give it to us. What is the actual basis for someone to claim self-defense?
Look, I am not any of your lawyers, and I don't want you taking my legal advice in whatever state, province, or principality you happen to be in. But I'll talk to you in basic terms. And the basic terms of self-defense in Western society is you have a right to it. You're allowed to defend yourself from deadly force or force likely to cause great bodily harm. In some places, you're allowed to use it in the defense of your property. That being said, the law doesn't really like it. And in any given situation, the best use of self-defense is not to get yourself in a position where you need to use it.
One of the problems that Daniel Perry had, the Army sergeant in Austin who got attacked by an Antifa BLM mob, was that he had previously been texting back and forth with a buddy of his, talking about how if he ran into a situation where he was mobbed or anything, he was gonna use deadly force and claim self-defense. That was used against him in court in a situation where it does look like, to me and a lot of other people, he was defending himself from an imminent deadly threat. A BLM rioter with an AK-47 at the low ready in his AO.
I think it's pretty clear use of self-defense. But keep in mind, everything you've ever said on your worst day is going to be used against you. The law accepts self-defense as a necessary evil. The Soros prosecutors hate it. Now, they will not prosecute somebody who goes and takes a hefty bag into a thrifty and starts stealing all this stuff. And they will let muggers go and rapists and child murderers. But boy, if they get a chance to take a normal person who uses a firearm or other deadly implement to protect him, her, or theirself, they are going to do that because they hate
Ask Kyle Rittenhouse.
And they will take, like Kyle Rittenhouse, they will take whatever they can to use it against you. So your worst day, fueled with Bud Light, if that's how you swing, is going to be what goes up in front of the jury. So don't run your mouth. Now, if I was his lawyer, I would have said, wait a minute. We want people who are carrying concealed weapons legally to think about what they would do in a situation. We want them to have an understanding. That helps them. You don't want somebody who's, well, you know, there's a riot out there. I sure don't want to think about what I might have to do. I expect everybody to. And I expect them to talk it over with friends. What, he didn't go out and say, I'm going to hunt somebody down and kill him. He said, if I'm in a situation where I have to use self-defense, I'm going to, which is perfectly legit and so easy.
And it's part of being a responsible gun owner, and even more, being a responsible gun owner is one thing, being a responsible gun bearer is another. When you take a weapon with you out into public, you have responsibilities, and you should think through every one of these scenarios that could possibly come up. You should be trained by someone who knows more than you do in most cases about those things. And in all of those, you're still, like Kurt said, you're still in jeopardy if somebody doesn't like the fact that you use your God-given and Western civilization-given right to stay alive instead of being killed.
Understand that the jury system is not about truth. It is about what you can convince a jury of. I've carried weapons a lot officially. I've carried weapons concealed. I don't have a carry permit for California.
Who does?
I mean, what do I know about guns? But I do in free America, and I carried there. And I got to tell you, I occasionally consume alcohol, nowhere near it if I'm carrying
Right.
a weapon. No, it doesn't even. No, I'm not even going in a place that serves. You have a responsibility, and to others, and to yourself and your family. You don't want to be locked away forever because you walked yourself into a situation you shouldn't.
And now let's go ahead and dive into the actual situations then. And the thing that is most important to understand about self-defense is you have to have, and this is in, and I'm going to say this because I'm not a lawyer, and we'll keep Kurt out of trouble here, but the idea in your head must be that you are subject to an imminent threat of deadly or serious hurt, meaning someone is going to kill you or hurt you so bad you could die. Those are the standards that you have to convince, as Kurt said, a jury that was your mindset at the second you pull a trigger. And if you cannot do that, or if that was not your mindset, you got no business shooting anybody.
The term often used is objectively reasonable. Okay? And do you know how that's defined? It's what 12 people say.
And those 12 people are going to be told about all the stupid things you've ever said or did, as we discussed previously. So you have to be able to overcome the fact that they're going to get a bushel of lies about you, and even some things that may be true, before we get to the fact that some idiot pointed a gun at you and, in Daniel Perry's case, convinced him that he was about to get shot. Now let's look at the other case, the one in Kansas City. This one's tough, and it's ugly on both sides. A 16-year-old kid got shot, and it does not appear he was up to anything nefarious. He was supposedly picking up his siblings, and he just happened to get the wrong street, 115th Street versus Avenue or something. And he rang a doorbell of an 85-year-old dude. The 85-year-old guy may truly have believed that that was a home invasion in progress. And that's going to be something a jury has to sort out.
Yeah, and I think it will go to a jury. Remember, you have yet another Soros prosecutor there who's already made up his mind about things. And if you are within a preferred demographic for that particular prosecutor, you will walk. And if you are in a disfavored one, they will do everything they can to get you. And the state has nearly endless resources.
If he goes to trial, he's going to have to convince the people on that jury that he believed this was a home invasion and his life was in jeopardy. Now, here's the thing. That doesn't have to be the case for it to be legitimate self-defense. As Kurt said, it's a reasonable belief in his mind. It doesn't have to be the reality. So the kid didn't have to be a home invader for this to actually be acquittal based on self-defense. And I can't even imagine what'll happen, if he gets off because a jury agrees with him that he was scared and reasonably believed this. I think given, the way things have gone recently, unfortunately, odds are they're going to throw the book at him.
It's a Kansas City jury, and Kansas City is not downtown Austin. And a lot of people there are going to say, wait a minute, somebody's pounding on my door in the middle of the night and I get scared, assume all those facts are true. We're, as lawyers, I love how I qualify. Assume the facts are true. Yeah, fact is a term of art in the law. But assume it's all true. This is a terrible misunderstanding. It's not like this guy went out looking for trouble.
No, he was asleep at home after dark, and, something happens and startled him up. And the sad thing is there is no good ending to this. The kid did get shot. The old guy now has to live with this for the rest of his life and potentially go to jail because he was, in his own mind defending himself. It's horrible. Let's jump to the third one, which is a case of kids in a car, some 20-ish-year-old kids who drive down the wrong driveway in a rural area. And the homeowner there, apparently even as they were leaving, now that we'd only have one side of the story there, but clacked off a couple rounds and ended up killing a 20-year-old girl.
The law expects you to break the fight off as soon as you can. If you take a pot shot at somebody who's trying to kill you, and he turns and runs away, not runs for cover, runs to return fire, something like that, that's a different situation. But if he just, says, I am out of here, drops his gun and starts running, you don't get to put him down. That stops being self-defense. Remember, the law doesn't want you to shoot somebody. The law wants you to end the problem and nobody get hurt.
Which of these three stories, I guess the first two, Daniel Perry, the press loved because he's a convicted murderer now.
Not for long.
And the young black kid who got killed is not about guns. That one now is about race. And then the one in the other case of the young girl, that one then becomes about guns because there's no racial angle they can use. With all those things in mind, of course, President Joe Biden had to opine and send a message out to Ralph Yarl, was the kid who was shot in Kansas City, 16-year-old kid. And he said, hope you're doing well. You come visit the White House when you get better. But he also said no one should have to face getting shot for simply pressing the wrong doorbell. This is the same Joe Biden who also, when he and Obama were talking about guns, when he was Obama's gun guy, he said, if you have trouble, all you got to do is get a double-barreled shotgun and put a couple rounds through the door.
We shouldn't be too hard on Joe. At least we have a major Democrat who shows concern about young black men being shot.
For once. Firing 2 rounds with a 12 gauge through the door, if you don't know what's on the other side.
That is grossly negligent. Look, you and I are both military guys. We took carrying weapons, which we both did, sometimes in situations that weren't particularly friendly, extremely seriously. And and neither of us got in trouble for doing something foolish, or at least neither of us could reveal that we didn't.
Never convicted.
Never convicted. Often indicted, never convicted.
I just wanted to point out, I did bring out my, actually that's my wife's double-barrel 12-gauge coach gun sitting in the back there, which again has never been fired through a door or fired itself at anyone because it's an inert object used only as a tool properly.
That will wrap up our segment on self-defense. We will be back right after the break.
Hey folks, back with more Warlords, and we're going to do our segment on men. Kurt and I being men, manly men, who are concerned with the state of manhood. And one of the things we have noticed and has been documented is the fact that men are not living as long as they should. And this is an ongoing thing that has been the gap between male longevity and female longevity is growing. And yet nobody seems to care about that.
I'm not sure if some of this isn't accounted for by men going, yeah, I'm just cashing it in because my life's kind of empty and meaningless. And that's sad. And if you look at a place like Russia, Jim, a lot of these guys are literally drinking themselves to death. There are more men than women born, but more men die. And it's very slightly more men, less than 1%, but there is a real number. But men die earlier. And some of the reason may be genetics and biology. Some of the reason is men do stupid, dangerous things a lot.
Yeah, there's kind of a combination there between the stupid and the dangerous. The dangerous, in many cases, can be harder jobs. Men are linemen, men are oil rig workers, men, go to places and do dangerous jobs that can get you killed. But then there's also the other piece, which is the testosterone tends to cause men, especially when they're young, to do things that can get you dead. And I am thrilled by the fact that I survived most of the stupid things I did that could and should have gotten me killed when I was younger.
Well, look, men seek out adventure and danger. You and I both went in the military.
Yeah.
And, of course, both of us volunteered for airborne school. You're actually a paratrooper. I'm a poser with 5. But, I didn't have to jump out of an airplane.
Nah.
I wanted to. Yeah, the badge gets you girls. Fine. But I also wanted to do something badass. I mean, it's pretty cool to jump out of planes. I don't know a lot of people who have.
And adrenaline feels good. I mean, that's one of the things. When you're a young dude, you're going to do things to prove you. First of all, you feel bulletproof. I no longer feel bulletproof. I was very bulletproof when I was young, and I showed it by doing things. When I was 18 years old, I climbed a 200-foot waterfall at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, a dry waterfall, with my buddy, and we both had Boda bags filled with Boone's Farm Tickle Pink wine over our shoulders as we climbed a 200-foot sheer waterfall. I mean,
I'm not sure what the biggest danger was, the climb and gravity or the Boone Spark tickle.
you know, the best part was when we got to the lip at the top. There's an overlook there, and about 15 feet back from the edge, there's a railing where normal people go to look off that, and there's a scenic view. And there was a family there with like 2 kids, mom and dad, and we come up over the top, looking all crazy, tipping our wine up and congratulating ourselves. I'm sure we ruined those kids.
They're probably in special
There you go.
forces
Maybe we
now.
inspired them.
Too many guys live life vicariously through video games right now. And the thing is, you know, you're not going to get killed in a video game quickly. You're going to get killed slowly because your body's going to degenerate. You're not going to be healthy. You're going to get bad habits. You're going to get diabetes. You're going to get fat. And you're going to end up dead. And, you know, look, we all have to die. I kind of want to. I don't want to die ironically, right?
Or pathetically.
You know, I
That
wanna
would
die
be
in a
even
cool
even
way.
worse.
If I have to go, I want it cool.
Yeah. Or live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse. Well, I was never that good-looking to start with, and so I'm kind of happy that I survived that, and now my corpse can look like whatever it's want when I'm old and decrepit. But the young dudes, they're not even getting that now. And I think at some level that's going to contribute, like you said, to their longevity because they're not doing the things. Part of that active, thrill-seeking lifestyle was seeking thrills and doing things. And that actually energizes your whole body. You get exercise, you
Yes.
get the adrenaline flowing, you do those things. And assuming you survive, that's a positive experience. They're not getting that. Oh, I got killed in a video game. Boop, let me regenerate. That does not work, like you said. It's not the way the game is played in real life.
Men are dying, but it's not in any kind of cool way.
Right.
Okay? At one time, my son, he went off to the Civil War and he, took a cannonball, or he went off to the Old West and he, fell off a mesa. Now it's, he got diabetes at 28 and, vapor locked after he gobbled some Doritos.
Right. And that's
Or took a little something and it turned out to be fentanyl.
And there's the other problem. They're medicating away reality.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to go ahead and opine on whether people should or should not use intoxicants of any kind. I used to drink professionally. I quit, but I did, and I don't hold that against anyone to do what they want to do. But there's a more nihilistic feeling to what's going on with these people. In the 80s, the glory days when you and I were young and people partied like rock stars, all of that stuff was, yes, it was escape from reality, but it was a party. It was a positive thing. It was not hiding in the basement pathetically.
Yeah, I mean, look at the music, the hair bands.
Right?
They were all party bands. They were fun.
They were fun.
Right? They were fun. And when you went out in the 80s and you had way too many beers, which I may have once or twice, it was fun. And you know what? I do not drink alone. I like my wine, but if I am alone or if I'm in a bad mood, I will not have alcohol because I don't associate drinking alone. It strikes me as gross and weird. And drinking when I'm unhappy, I don't get it because I still associate it with, being with my friends and having a good time.
Right.
And nothing's sadder than someone who intoxicates themselves as anesthesia so they don't feel anything rather than as a part of feeling,
Yeah, a social event. And I think, there are plenty of people, like I did. I spiraled down to the point where I was drinking. I was George Thorogood's, I drink alone, with nobody else. But.
And you said, I'm not.
Well, and because I saw what a sickening, pathetic ending that would be to be that drunken, toothless loser in the basement somewhere, in your chair, just doing nothing. And I did not want that to be the end of my life. My life's been a hell of a good movie so far. And so I wanted to continue to be epic, like a warlord. And I think there's an element now where I think more people see what you see, that there's nothing wrong with having a few drinks in the right situation. But when we throw parties at the house, I've noticed fewer people are getting drunk. I can't remember. We had like one drunk person, the last party which you were at, the CPAC party. We had one drunk person
You got something? I'm
not going to tell who it was, and it was not someone who would be fun to rat on. Otherwise, I would.
Was it O'Connor?
It was not O'Connor. But that's the point. There was just, if there was one at a party where there were probably 50 to 75 people were there, you know,
Yeah.
that's a different thing. And I think that's something that the next couple of generations need to look at and see, okay, what are the things we can do to turn social and positive if there's going to be anything like that, not just be in the basement popping anxiety meds.
Yeah. Look, I just think a lot of people are hopeless. And what we've been talking about are, you know, the bad stuff are symptoms of hopelessness. Yeah. The good stuff, like, hey, I'm going to go hang with my friends and we're going to listen to rap.
Round
that
and
was positive,
round.
Man. People are happy. And that can be true again. And if it isn't true of society at large, it can be a personal decision. Everybody out there, you can make a decision not to suck.
There you go.
You can make a position. You can take a stand and decide. I am deciding here and now to not suck. I'm not going to anesthetize myself. I'm not going to waste my life on fleeting images of video games. I'm going to do stuff and accumulate memories. If you can't sit and shut your eyes and replay some of the greatest hits of your life in your mind and have greatest hits to replay, I feel bad.
I'm telling you, dude, that was one of the things, and I think that you may have hit on the thing. I always said I wanted to live my life like it was going to be a movie. So it had a soundtrack, and it had to have epic things happening. And now they're living their lives like they're watching a movie or watching a video game. You know, you can actually get up. You don't have to go skydiving, but you can. You can go to a drop zone and do a tandem jump and get the biggest adrenaline rush you're ever going to. And you don't even really have to learn anything. You just get strapped to an experienced skydiver and boom, you're hurtling towards the earth at 125 miles an hour. And the only thing that's going to save you is a pile of dirty laundry. There's something to be said for that.
The one thing they can't take away from you, cool memories.
Earn them. Live your life.
Earn them.
All right,
Yes.
well, there's Warlords advice for men. We'll be back after the break with the ever popular Warlords on Film.